Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone around the world. Thank you very much for joining the webinar today. My name is Ashwin, and I'm a marketing analyst at Zoho Analytics. I'm joining you today from Chennai. All right, recent shifts in the business world have brought about a new era in marketing. Social media marketing is back in vogue and it will continue to impact online marketing for the foreseeable future. With minimal business operations running across the globe, now is the time to revisit your social media marketing metrics to realign your efforts for a changing world. Keeping that in mind, we have carefully designed this webinar to help you identify and bridge the four gaps in social media before business as usual. Here's the agenda for the day. We get started with the social media gap matrix. Then we move on to discuss the four gaps in social media marketing. And with a quick summary of the webinar, we throw the floor open for an interesting Q&A session. 50x. Yes, you got it right. That's the surge in social media volumes for the months of January, February, and March 2020 in India, as reported by Nielsen. Globally, this could be even higher. Now, as businesses, this is certainly not a number that can be ignored. So, don't you want to be a part of this social media driven growth story? This green curve here shows how social media is today. And the blue line probably represents your social media efforts. Now, as marketing managers and marketing heads, you have multiple priorities. You have campaigns running across your offline channels that you need to monitor, and you have campaigns across your online platforms that you need to supervise. Now, as far as social media marketing is concerned, organizations do one of these two things, or maybe both. One, they settle down with the traditional social media metrics and ardently run behind achieving those metrics in order to reduce or further bridge the gap between the green curve and the blue line. Or, in their pursuit to further narrow this gap, organizations begin pumping in money on ad platforms. But the big question here is, what are these gaps and how do you bridge them? Now, before I answer that question, I would like to share a saying that I ran into recently, and it's from Nabil Sabio. Nabil Sabio is an Iranian New Zealand artist, and he said, and I quote, "When fishermen cannot go to sea, they repair their nets." That's exactly what is happening in the business world today. The pandemic has crippled business activities across the world, and businesses are not able to go out to their sea of opportunities. So, why not utilize this time to repair their nets? In this case, nets being our social media efforts. So, with that quick introduction on why you'll probably need to utilize this time to repair your nets, this saying also throws two questions to us. What are these nets that needs to be repaired and how are we going to do that? So in our parlance, what are these gaps in social media marketing and how do we bridge them? Now, to help us find out or identify these gaps, we are going to make use of the social media gap matrix. I'm going to break down the entire social media activities into four blocks, and using them, we are going to identify the gaps in each of these blocks. We will assess our social media efforts across audience, content, impact, and also competition to help us identify the gaps. Well, that answers the question on what are these gaps. Now, the next question would be how are we going to bridge these gaps? Now, any ad platform today bombards you with loads of data. Now, using analytics, we will analyze this data to drive or draw powerful insights across these four blocks to bridge the gaps for you. Speaking of analytics, for those who are new to Zoho Analytics, a couple of slides on the product. Zoho Analytics is a self service business intelligence and analytics platform. It was launched in the year 2009 as one of the pioneers in self service BI space. Today, Zoho Analytics has more than 10,000 happy customers and more than 1.5 million happy users across 150 countries. What can Zoho Analytics do for you? Zoho Analytics can help you fetch data from more than 250 data sources in the forms of files, feeds, local databases, cloud databases, or even popular business applications. So, we are going to especially focus on these business applications today. We're going to talk about the ad platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and a lot more. Now, with all that data into your platform, you can visually analyze this data in more than 1,000 pre-built reports and dashboards available as a default offering with select business applications. On top of that, you can also build your own reports and dashboards using the simple drag and drop feature, or you can just interact with a platform in natural language, and ML powered AI assistant Ask Zia can help you get the relevant reports. Zoho Analytics offers more than 50 different ways of visualizing your data in the forms of widgets, charts, pivot tables, dashboards, and a lot more. Once you've analyzed this data, you can collaborate with your teams. You can privately share them. You can also publicly share them. You can have these reports and dashboards embedded within your blogs or your websites. So, the quick introduction on Zoho Analytics, let's move to the four gaps in social media marketing. The first gap on the social media gap matrix is about your audience. The question here is, are you targeting the right mix? Who are they? They are the people who love your brand. And it's very important to understand your audience because you got to tailor your content strategy based on the likes and dislikes of the audience. By knowing your audience, you can also help fulfilling a number of business decisions. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, by understanding the demography of your audience, and you can keep them as your guidelines for making business decisions. You can identify possible gaps in your product portfolios, or you can fine tune your marketing communications. You can add specific tailor made promotional offers for these audiences, and you can do a lot more by understanding who your audiences are. Now, as marketing managers and as marketing teams, do you brainstorm trying to find out who your audience could be? Or do you consult with your seniors to find out who could be your audience? Or do you put your sixth sense to work in trying to figure out who your audiences are? Now, let's take the help of analytics to assess if you're targeting the right group of people. And for that, I'm going to switch to Zoho Analytics. All right, this is the landing page of Zoho Analytics. So when you log into Zoho Analytics, this is where the platform takes you. Now, as a technical prerequisite to this analysis, you should have integrated your Zoho Analytics account with uh, any ad platform like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Now, that's possible in just a few simple steps. So I'm not going to get into the details of how you do the integration. So once you have the account integrated with your Zoho Analytics account, a workspace gets created. Now, the one that you see here is an Instagram workspace. That's an outcome of the integration between Zoho Analytics and an Instagram account. So I'm going to click on the Instagram workspace and show you how the different modules and fields from your Instagram account has got imported into Zoho Analytics. So click on the data tab, and I'm going to pick one of the tables, the media insights table, to show you how the media insights module from your Instagram account has got converted into a table in Zoho Analytics, and the different fields within your media insights module has got converted into columns in Zoho Analytics. So as a simple thumb rule, any module from your ad platform gets converted into a table, and the respective fields get captured in the form of columns. So now let's get back to understand who our audiences are. So I'm going to show you a demographics dashboard where we have analyzed your audience based on multiple metrics. All right. So, like I was explaining, those important metrics that mean a lot for a marketing manager, like the country with the highest number of followers, the city with the highest number of followers, the most spoken language in which your audiences are, the age bracket, and then the gender are available here in the dashboard in the form of widgets. Now, as you scroll further down, you can get to understand the country wise followers, and on mouse hover you can see that you have close to 146 followers for Canada, and you have 402, and as and when you scroll over each of these countries you get to know how many followers are there for that particular country. And then scrolling further down, you have a report that talks about the top 10 cities. Now I'm going to expand that report for you. Now, how can you put this report to use? Now, let's say in one of your offline marketing campaigns, you want to run a pilot to test a new promotional scheme or an offer. Probably you can refer to this report to understand that San Diego would be a good place to start because you're sure that you have the highest number of followers in San Diego. So, any kind of test campaign or maybe a pilot campaign that you want to run, you can probably try looking at this report to help you find the right place for you to do the trials. Now, with that, let's move on to the other reports. You can see here how the gender wise followers are broken down. You can see that close to 70% of your audience are the male population, and also you have a breakup of the age tier, and your audiences are between the age group of 18 and 24. Now, with these kind of insights, it becomes easy for you to do a reality check in trying to understand whether you're targeting the right group of people or not. So, with analytics and insights, we were able to understand the demographic. We were able to find out the right age bracket in which they fall into. We were able to understand the gender categories, and we were also able to understand from where exactly your highest followerships are and what kind of language they speak. Not just that, we were also able to feed insights for your other marketing campaigns. So, that, for example, this report on the top 10 cities helped us understand that one particular city has the highest number of followers, and probably you can get started with that city for any kind of a test marketing campaign. So, with that, we're going to move to the second gap in our social media gap matrix, and it's all about your content. So, good that you have identified your audiences. Now, it's also important to understand whether the content on social media is serving the purpose or not. So, why is content important? Content is the new age king. It helps you create the desired impact, tells you what you stand for, what you advocate for, what exactly your brand is all about. Content also helps you to build customer engagement and also brand awareness among your audience. And finally, content is your virtual face. So it tells you everything about who you are and what you believe in. Now, as marketing managers and as marketing heads, do we like to stick to content that we like or what we think is the right for our audience or what we feel is good for our audience as against what really works for your audience? Well, if that's what you're trying to think, probably we are shooting arrows in the dark. Now, let's take the help of analytics to understand whether the kind of content that we put on social media is creating the right kind of impact, and also if that's the right content that needs to be posted. So, for that, I'm going to switch screens to Zoho Analytics. So, very similar to understanding the demography of our audience, it's very easy to have a high level understanding on the kind of content that you're posting on social media with these widgets. You're able to understand your tweet frequencies or the number of tweets, your engagements, the retweets that are happening on your page, the kind of mentions, the URLs, and the kind of media that's getting shared on your Twitter account. Now, all these dashboards that I'm showing to you today is not very specific or restricted to only one ad platform, but similar analysis can be done across your other ad platforms as well. So, scrolling further down, I'm going to pick one of the reports to help you identify the best times for posting your content for getting the maximum engagements. So, we have analyzed this data in the form of a heat map, and this heat map tells us the kind of engagements that's happening with your content across the 7 days of the week and 24 hours of the day. So I'm going to try and find out which is the best time for me to post content on my page. And I get to see that the 11th hour of Sunday and the 11th hour of Friday gets me the maximum engagement. So you can do a similar analysis for your page to find out which are the hours where you're getting the maximum engagements among your audience, and probably you might want to schedule your posts based on these timings. Now that can help you get the best out of your content. Scrolling further down, you can analyze how the different media types have got engaged among your audience. And since this is a Twitter, undoubtedly your textual content has the highest engagement rates, followed by the video content, followed by photos, and finally animated GIFs. You can also try and analyze on a month on month basis on how your different media types have performed, and that's the report that you see here on the left hand side. So, with these, you're able to assess the kind of content or the media type that you should be using for getting better engagement rates. Moving further down is an interesting parameter that marketers would like to track, and that's the virality factor. So, what's virality factor all about? Virality factor is nothing but the measure of the tendency of a content. It could be an image or a video or any piece of information to be circulated rapidly and widely from one internet user to the other. So, in short, it's how viral your content is on social media. So, this analysis helps us understand that for the month of May, your virality factor is the highest and it stands at 1.23. Now, you and your team might want to sit down and try and understand the kind of content that you have posted for the month of May. Now, for the next few months, you might want to uh, realign your content based on the kind of content that you have posted in the month of May, because the month of May has the highest virality factor. This is pretty much dynamic, so it doesn't end in a month or two. As and when you keep progressing, it's good to keep a track on the virality factor, and that will help you understand the kind of content that your audience are really looking for. As you move further down, you have other interesting reports. You have an analysis of user mentions as against the engagements that have happened, and you have a lot other reports. Now, you might have want to track a set of parameters or metrics very specific to your Twitter page. You can do that. You can construct your own reports. You can have your own dashboards, and you can track those metrics that are important for you apart from what you see here on the screen. So, with insights, we were able to understand the preferred time frame for maximum engagement. We had a look at the heat map that helped us understand that the 11th hour on Sundays and Fridays would be the suggested time for posting your content for that particular example. I'm sure that could be different for your page. We also tried analyzing the different media formats, and we were able to narrow down on the media format that works best for you. We also had a quick look at the virality factor, and you can encourage your teams to look into the months that had the highest virality factor to see what content has actually worked for you. With all that, we were able to further refine our communication strategy. So, with that, we move to the third gap in our social media gap matrix, and that's all about creating the right impact. So, you know who your audiences are, you've built relevant content, but now are these campaigns or are the contents impactful? Are they creating the right kind of impact? Why is it important to understand the impact of your campaigns? That can help you to iterate your campaigns to perfection, or if not to perfection, but at least near to perfection. This can help you optimize your campaigns and also your spending. If you find out that one particular campaign is not creating the right kind of impact, probably you might want to pull out some investments and start investing on those campaigns that are creating the right kind of impact. And finally, you would also like to understand whether this these campaigns or content are helping you achieve the desired social media or business goals. The common thing that we usually do is to settle down with the traditional social media metrics. We track, and once we realize that we have achieved those metrics, we say or we decide to conclude that those particular campaigns were impactful. Using analytics, we can go a step further, and I'm going to show you how analytics or the insights that you get from analyzing your data can help you find out whether these campaigns are creating the right kind of impact. So, for that, I'm going to switch back to Zoho Analytics. All right. So, this is a detailed analysis of your campaign groups in LinkedIn. So, very similar to understanding your demography and content strategy, you have those metrics that are important to understand the impact of these campaigns, such as metrics such as impressions, clicks, engagement rates, CPC, CPM, all in the form of widgets. So it's going to cut down your time to insights. You don't have to go around looking for these details. You can have them all within this one single dashboard. Here is another interesting thing that we have analyzed. We have been able to analyze the month on month impressions and clicks for the last probably 8 or 9 months, and you have it plotted in the form of a trend. Now, the interesting part here is you're able to forecast or estimate how your impressions are or clicks are going to be for the next few months. So, this dotted line that you see here is your estimated clicks or for the next few months, and this dotted line that you see here is the estimated impressions for the next few months. Now, since these are estimates, you can take them as your baselines to try and fine tune your content, could be your targeting, or could be anything else. Or maybe you might want to relook at your investments in ad platforms also. Scrolling further down, you have the video played funnel. Now, this analysis helps you to understand the impact that your video campaigns are creating across social media. Now, as you can see, the funnel has broken down the video into segments where the first segment talks about the number of people who have actually started watching a video. The second segment talks about the number of people who have completed watching the first quartile, and then moving further down, those who have completed till midpoint, and moving further down, those who have completed till the third quartile, and finally, towards the end of the funnel, or those who have completely watched the video. Now, using this report, you can further look at the script of your videos or the content of your video. Now, you can try and understand where the maximum dropouts are happening, and probably this could be one of the many things that you look at to fine tune your video content or your video scripting. Further going down, you have monthly followers trends. You have the budget versus spending by campaign groups, and you have another interesting report here. So LinkedIn gives you the facility to embed a or a lead capture form within your LinkedIn campaigns. Now, this analysis helps you to understand the number of people who have opened these forms as against the number of people who have actually submitted these forms. Now, let's take the example of the month of May, where you have nearly 3.4 thousand people opening the form, whereas you have only 277 people submitting the form. As you can see, from August 2019 through June 2020, the number of people who have submitted the forms, the trend looks pretty flat. This means that there's some kind of improvement that's needed in your lead form. So you can try testing out different lead forms, and by using this analysis, you'll be able to assess whether these lead forms are creating the right kind of impact, which means if the number of people who are actually submitting these forms, if that's going up, then probably that's the kind of lead form you should be looking at. Similar to any other dashboard, you can add more reports here, more metrics that you want to track, and you can have them all in one single place. With analytics and insights, we were able to optimize the spends. That is, we were able to try and enhance the ROI. We were able to do an in-depth granular analysis on the media format. We saw how the video campaigns could be analyzed, and using the forecasting feature, we were able to have a sneak peek into the future and have realign our activities based on the estimates. And finally, we had some insights shared on the lead capture page as well. So, moving to the last and final gap in the social media gap matrix is on your competition. So, don't you want to know whether you're missing out on the opportunities in social media? Well, don't you want to try and understand how you stack up against the heavy hitters in the industry? Now, this can help you identify the gaps in your own strategy, and that will help you realign your activities if it's needed. And this is definitely a reality check for you. Now, as marketing heads and as marketing managers, we all wait for the moment of truth. When disaster strikes, that's when we wake up to try and find out what our competitors are up to. But as a good practice, it's always recommended to keep a tab on what your competitors are doing, on the kind of activities that they do to help you stay relevant in today's market. Now, using analytics, now let's try and understand how you can analyze your competitor strategies on social media. All right. So this is a Twitter Analytics dashboard that you see here. And for this example, I have considered different football clubs. So let's assume that we belong to Real Madrid for this example. And you're able to find out which football club is very active on social media, and that's Liverpool Football Club. You have the least active football club, that's Real Madrid. You have a comparative analysis of the tweets that are happening. Now you want to see how you fare against Liverpool. You can uncheck the other competitors and have only you and Liverpool analyzed to see how your tweet trends are. For scrolling further down, you can see the most favorite football club on social media is Manchester United. Then you can also see the most retweets are happening for Manchester United. So, what's Manchester United doing to get all that? So, I might want to look at the kind of content that's getting tweeted. So, for Manchester United, they have a good mix of hashtags, user mentions, medias, and URLs. Similarly, you can have a look at Liverpool. They have a good mix of hashtags, user mentions, and media. You have a few other KPIs here. It says the most mentions happen for Arsenal, most hashtags used for Manchester United. Scrolling further down, you can also get a granular view on what are the kind or the media type that your competitors are using. So we saw that the most active football club here was Liverpool. So let's find out what Liverpool does. So they have a good mix of photos, text, and video content to be the most active football club on social media. So we have this other report explained to you earlier in the form of a heat map. So we found out which are the best engaging times for you. Similarly, you can also find out which are the times of the day your competitors are posting their content. That could probably be their best engagement hours. So you have the day of the week also analyzed. So similarly, you can analyze or compare your metrics against your competitor metrics in many other ways. And this analysis helps you to understand whether you're on the right track or not. With insights, we were able to get a granular and a high level analysis of the strategy adopted by the competitors. We found out what kind of content sells for your competitors. We saw the kind of mix that the competitors use to get good engagement rates on social media. We were also able to see the kind of best practices in this industry. And finally, we were able to do a comparative analysis across various metrics where you could compare your own business with the competitor's business as well. So, with that, we come to the end of the 4 gaps to be bridged in social media. So, I'm going to quickly summarize this webinar for you. We got started with the social media gap matrix, where we segmented the gaps in 4 blocks. We said we will try and identify the gaps in your audience, in your content, whether the campaigns are creating the right kind of impact, and what your competitors are up to. So, as far as your audience are concerned, we were able to understand the demography, and some of the insights could also be used for your offline campaigns as well. Moving to your content, we tried finding out the right time for you to post the content. We were able to assess the good media formats that work for you. We spoke of the virality factor, and with all that, you could further refine your content strategy. Now, after knowing who your audiences are and after getting the right content, it's good to understand whether it's creating the right kind of impact to help you enhance your ROIs. So we also got more granular in assessing or analyzing the video campaigns, and we were able to have a sneak peek into the next few months using the forecasting feature, which gives you an estimate of how things are going to be in the future. And we were also able to try and see what are the best ways to optimize your LCPs. And finally, all about without competition, so we were able to see what kind of strategies are used by the competitors, what kind of content that sells for competitors, what are the best practices, and finally, we were able to do a comparative analysis of the competitors against your social media efforts. Social media today is something that cannot be ignored. It's an inevitable business driver. But these ad platforms are designed for a specific purpose, and the purpose is to create engagement and build brand awareness. But it's also important to understand what are the gaps that are in your social media efforts, and clubbing it with a powerful BI application would help you analyze, identify, and also bridge these gaps. So we saw today like how you could find your gaps in your content strategy across your audience, whether it's kind of creating the right kind of impact and what your competitors are up to. So Zoho Analytics can help you with that, and you can see the different marketing applications or services with which Zoho Analytics can integrate for you to get these powerful insights in order to help you bridge the gaps in your social media efforts. So with that, folks, we are throwing the floor open for an interesting Q&A session, and I have with me my colleague Silas, and he will be assisting us in this Q&A session. So I encourage you to file your questions inside the questions box.
Thanks, Ashwin. Thanks for the great session. So I think I'm ready to answer the questions. So please post your questions in the questions tab at the left. So let's allow a couple of minutes and allow users to type their questions. All right, I got a first question from Kelly. Can you give us a link to work instruction or a help doc that how to link these? I know it's complicated. Well, it's not complicated, Kelly. To be frank, it's within very few clicks, you'll be able to configure all these integrations. And most of the reports that what you've seen in this webinar are something that comes in handy, or I could say created as a default or pre-built reports in Zoho Analytics once you configure these social media integrations. So to use this integration service, all you need to do is just access your Zoho Analytics. In the home screen at the right-hand side top corner, you will have an option called Import Your Data, where you need to choose the appropriate social media tile and then authenticate your account. Choose the modules or fields that you're trying to import to do the analytics. And once you hit Create, it will take like 10 to 15 minutes to synchronize your data. And by default, you'll have a whole lot of pre-built reports and dashboards that typically used in the social media. In addition to that, you're always allowed to create your own custom reports based on your requirement. So I'm going to share you a quick link. Maybe I will share this in the question, and also we could play that in the chat. So this is the Zoho Analytics Help Center link, where you can access it and browse all the help documentation or video demonstration, and also featured samples where you have all these reports and dashboards with some sample data to play around. So you can explore that. If you need any further assistance with a kind of a demonstration, please feel free to get in touch with our support team through support@zohoanalytics.com. I'll put that in the chat. All right, so I got another question from Kelly. Maybe I'm answering the question here: how do you choose your competitors? Well, it's obviously you should understand the, or you should aware of the Twitter handles or handlers that used by your competitors. So as long as you have a public profile, then certainly you can import the data. So once again, inside the Zoho Analytics, if you click on import your data, where you can click on the Twitter and then choose the appropriate profiles. I think I got a correction from Kelly again that, I mean, how do you get the data? All right. So that's something that, once again, as I mentioned before, as long as you have it as a public profile or public Twitter handle, then we are authorized to fetch the data. It's not about it's not we are not authenticating a specific account and taking the data. So these are all the public profiles where you see all the posts and all the engagements. So all the public data which is available in associated with the profile, we are able to synchronize that, and this is happening legally, meaning when we offer any integration with any business applications or any other company, we do get consent from them, and also we do have a technology partnership with appropriate companies, and we use the API offered by the social media platform and authenticate a specific user account to fetch this data. So as long as the Twitter handles are public and all these posts and engagements are public, which if you want to refer it at any point of time, you can access the Twitter and access the handle to see that. So that same data is synchronizing as the raw data. So that's it. So definitely that would work for you. So I'm pretty sure that's very helpful, of course, in terms of seeing how exactly the engagements and also the activity by different competitors in your segment. All right. So I think I hope I answered your question. So I think let's wait for one more question to go ahead and answer it, and then we can take it up from there. Maybe I'm just trying to answer one of the frequently asked questions when it comes to integration and analytics. Um, what level of granularity of the data that you can take it from your social media applications? So that's something that we frequently get it from our customer base, and also we do get these questions often from other webinars as well. So in Zoho Analytics, as long as you integrate with any social media application, typically based on the modules and fields that you're going to choose, in certain social media marketing applications, the data will be consolidated or aggregated, meaning you will not get data for each and every transactions or likes or any entry that happen. It's more often like aggregated data which is grouped by based on a specific date or some other dimensions. So a day-wise engagement rate and a day-wise or language-wise engagement rate, and so on. So you'll be getting some aggregated data set from different sources. So in certain social media you'll be getting such data, and Zoho Analytics allow you to import data from wide range of data sources when it comes to social media platform. Right from Facebook, it could be the pages or ads, or it could be the competitor pages and insights, or it could be the Twitter, once again, pages, ads, and so on. And also we support the Instagram and LinkedIn pages, LinkedIn ads, and so on. So I think we almost support all the key integrations that typically you use it in social media platform. So you can consolidate everything and have it in one place to do deep analysis on top of your data. And I think I got last question. With that, we can close the session. So I got the question: does Zoho Analytics extrapolate to social media and CRM specific contacts? Um, Maybe I think I need clarity on your question that you're trying to extrapolate to social media and CRM specific contacts. Is um, I don't think, I mean, there is no, as long as the integrations that we offer in Zoho Analytics, we do not have a direct logical relationship between social media data and any other data sources like CRM or something. So we cannot map it because we do not have any logical relationship or ID to maintain a relationship between these two different data sets. So in terms of insights, of course, you can build the reports from different sources, have it in one dashboard, but you cannot correlate, or maybe you do not have a logical relationship between the data set to use it. All right, I think with that, probably one last question again from Kelly, that I think there is a way, but not through analytics. I don't recall how. Maybe through Zoho Social. Uh, Maybe when it comes to Zoho Social, of course, where you handle everything in terms of social media handlers and everything. So that might be a suggestion. You can try it out. But apart from that, I think I was able to answer all your questions. If you have any further questions about the product, please do get in touch with us through support@zohoanalytics.com. We are happy to help you. And thank you so much for your time today. And from here, I think, Ashwint, you can take it further. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Silas, for the interesting Q&A session. I hope we were able to answer all your questions. So, folks, thank you very much for joining the webinar. You can always write to us on support@zoanalytics.com. So, in case you want to try and identify and also bridge those gaps in your social media efforts, we invite you to check out how analytics can be a part of that by logging on to zoho.com/analytics. Thank you very much and stay safe and have a great day.